How many candidates do you guys have currently prepped to run in the upcoming federal election?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. It's a number that is in flux. Our EDAs are in between election cycles, and this is, again, I'm going to be quite honest. Everybody would, in between election cycles, people take a break from politics, and so it's quiet a lot of times. And everybody has their own lives to live, and so it is quiet. So that's what we're working on right now, is filling out our EDAs. And by the way, if you're watching this, and you like the idea of having a Maverick candidate in your riding, you can go onto our website, Maverick Party, the Maverick Party website, and you can get our email, and you can find out if you have an EDA board in your riding. And if you do have an EDA board, you can go to them and you can find out who your candidate is, and you can decide how and when you could get involved. Ultimately, that's how any grassroots organization starts, is through regular people getting involved, going to their local associations, their EDAs. If you're not familiar with the term, that stands for, and it's an official Elections Canada designation that stands for an electoral district association. And so every riding will have one for every party. So, your Conservatives would have their own EDA, and the Maverick Party will have their own EDA. And so you would get involved there and work at getting a candidate, getting him out there, getting your riding to know him or her. By the way, I say him, please forgive me if that, to me, that goes without saying. But so many people get tripped up by that stuff these days, which is irritating, actually.
You say it a lot kinder than I say it. You're a very kind person.
Thanks. My wife, anyway, no, we won't even go there. But so what we do is we want our local EDAs to find their candidates and then support them. We have a platform to run off of, and we find our candidates that believe in that platform and that want to see the vision that we have for Western Canadians, and then take that to their riding in the next election and start spreading the word. Getting out into their different communities that are inside of that riding, and it's basically campaigning before the actual campaign starts. And so that's what we're looking for, is for people to do that.
Now, I checked today just to see who the competition in this riding, because you would be my MP if we voted you in, because you live, like I said, you live in my town, you're my riding. And I know our current MP is Arnold Viersen. He's the Conservative Party candidate. And I checked for PPC, and there was Randy Wissenalt or something like that ran in 2021. However, there was no clear evidence that he would be running again. So as of right now, there's no official listing for the PPC candidate of this riding. But let's just pretend there is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a CPC candidate
at the moment. That can change at the moment.
And like you said, in between elections, it gets quiet, right? People take a break. And I'm sure that's not just true of the Maverick Party. That's probably true across all parties, except for the one that's the incumbent, right? Mm-hmm. So you have your CPC candidate, you have your PPC candidate, you have, and I'm not even including the Liberal and NDP because they don't count as far as I'm concerned, especially in rural Alberta. And then there's a Maverick Party candidate. How do we get people, I guess, on like, trying to formulate my question here. I know that the people want to vote for Conservative Party because let's get Trudeau out. People just think that that's going to solve the problems, and we've already kind of addressed that it really won't. The PPC, I think, like you said, has great policies, and I was at one time a member when they first started, really supportive of them. I actually, back when I first woke up to politics in Canada, I wanted to vote for Kevin O'Leary as the leader of the Conservative Party. So I bought a membership of the Conservative Party, vote for Kevin O'Leary. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who was more informed than I was, and he said, no, you really got to listen to Maxime Bernier. And I didn't know who Maxime was. But then Kevin O'Leary bowed out and said, you should support Maxime Bernier. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll investigate this guy. And then when he started the PPC, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. So because you're voting for your values. But I was also in Ontario at the time. I was in Toronto in the Vipers Den there. And now I've moved out to Alberta, and even more so, I moved out to rural Alberta. My values, my family's values have changed considerably, and we've absolutely fallen in love with it out here. And, you know, the Maverick Party would echo my values. So I can foresee there'd be people out there that would worry that maybe a vote for Maverick would be a vote split, right? Like, what would you say? No, I just think, sure, maybe it's a vote split. So the Conservatives really shouldn't run the party out here at all because they're going to split the Maverick vote. But what would you say to that vote split? And kind of if we're staging it as you have these three choices, because again, any conservative person is not going to vote for the Liberals, not going to vote for NDP or Green Party, but they're going to vote for one of the conservative-minded parties, which I see there's three. How would you tackle that issue? What would you say to them?
Vote splitting. Oh man, we get hammered with that one. Even inside the party, we talk about this. How do we counter this narrative? Because it's very easy for that insinuation to be thrown out there that you are jeopardizing something extremely important if you vote for this little party. You are potentially going to ruin the country if you vote for the Maverick Party, because, you know, what if we lose that riding and we split the vote and the Liberal candidate, or the, heaven forbid, the NDP candidate slips up the middle because you split the vote? And it's a difficult one for us because, well, hey, that's just not going to happen in most Western Canadian ridings. They are, for instance, in the last election, we ran about 35 candidates, and we only ran them in ridings that were voting overwhelmingly conservative. Like between 60 and 80% of the vote went to the conservatives in that previous, and historically always. So even if we split the vote right down the middle at 80%, like it is in our riding, like in the previous election, 80, what was that, 2019, that riding, 80% of our riding voted for Arnold Viersen, you know, overwhelmingly decisive. So even if we split that vote right down the middle and we both take 40%, the NDP and the Liberal, there's zero hope that they would get in. And I made this point during the election. Actually, it was in the debate. It was an all-candidate debate in our riding here. And I made that same statement. I'm like, I'm sorry that even if we split that vote right down the middle, the Liberal and the NDP have zero chance. And then I realized they're sitting there looking at me when I said that. I kind of felt kind of bad, but it doesn't make it less true. It doesn't make it less true. And so the vote splitting is not really an issue. The other thing is that sometimes the Conservatives will say, well, you are, if you win, you know, you are jeopardizing our majority. Well, I hope so. Absolutely, I hope so. I think that it would be the healthiest thing in the world for the Canadian West to hold the balance of power in the Canadian Parliament. You know, for instance, if, like I started to go into this before, you know, if we're sitting in the House of Commons and there's enough Maverick MPs there, and the government, the hopefully provincial government, hopefully the Conservative government, the Conservative government tables the budget and says, we're going to balance the budget, every Maverick MP is going to support that bill. Of course, that's what we need to do. We are for fiscal responsibility. I don't believe we have an earning, we have a spending problem, not a taxing problem in Canada. We need to balance our budget. We need to live within our means. We need to look for the places that we've wasted our money and cut them out. So of course, the Mavericks are going to support the government, and we're going to pass that bill. But if as happened with the previous Conservative leader, Aaron O'Toole, if he says, "Oh, now we're going to bring forth a carbon levy," the Maverick MPs are going to stand up and say, "Hard no. No, we don't believe that that's the way we should go at all. We do not believe that carbon taxes are a force for good and make any difference on the environment. There are better ways that we can work towards ending pollution than a carbon tax." And we can talk about that later if you'd like to. But, so we would be able to withhold the permission that a majority government would have in the interests of Western Canadians. Things like Bill C-48, which is the West Coast tanker ban, would never have passed, right? The Bill C-69. Now, these are both Liberal bills. I'm not saying that Poilievre would have passed these bills, although I don't know. Maybe he would. I don't know. But Bill C-69, which is the No More Anything Act, or No More Pipeline Act, I guess, whatever. These things that stifle our economy and hurt the country as a whole, and our energy industry specifically, which is where the most money is made in Canada. None of those things would have happened if there was a Western component that could hold the balance of power. And that is what we are offering. That is what would be best for Western Canadians. It would give us a layer of authority that we've never had in the past. That's what we need.
So, yeah, on some of these bills and some of these policies that you could sign on to and support, or if it wasn't in the interest of Western Canada, you could put a halt on it if you reached that critical mass of numbers, like say that 70 seats, right? Actually, just before we get onto that, what could you do? You said the last election, which when you were a brand new party, ran 35 candidates. What could you do in the House of Commons if all 35 candidates got in, hypothetically?
Whew, that's a hard one. It would have been a real frustrating time because we would have been right on the bubble. It depends. See, this is the thing too that a lot of people don't maybe think about, or maybe even realize. Conservatives are not conservatives across the country. We don't all think the same, right? They have a different set of values. Conservatives in Eastern Canada and Central Canada have a much different mindset than we do here in the West. That's the reason why Aaron O'Toole was changing his message to appeal to those conservatives. If we had, and so our Conservative Party of Canada, our National Conservative Party of Canada, they're kind of schizophrenic that way. And I don't mean that in a, like, oh, don't jump on me already, okay? But, I know there's a real thing as mental health. Okay, I get that. But to support the analogy, they have two different personalities. They are appealing to the large voter-rich Conservative base in Ontario and Quebec, and they are kind of left, or maybe more central, much more central. Perhaps even sometimes they flip over into liberalism, and they will sometimes vote for Liberal, and sometimes they'll vote for Conservatives. And the Liberal Party of Canada is stuck trying to raise that vote while still keeping us in the West happy, right? And it makes it very, like, sometimes I feel kind of sorry for them because they have to, they have to do this high wire act, this tightrope act, where they're balancing and trying not to fall off either side. It's got to be hard. What I think would be way better for the country is if we had a Western-based Conservative Party that could accurately represent us, which would free up the Conservative Party of Canada to do the same in Eastern Canada. to actually go to them and say, what values exactly do you want us to bring to the House of Commons, right? And rather than having to do this tightrope act, they could more accurately represent that voting, that conservative value, Eastern conservative value, while we could do the same. That actually much more justly describes what should be happening in the House of Commons. Because what happens right now is our MPs, our conservative MPs, are often told to sit down and shut up. And I'm not really being hyperbolic. It happened. It happens all the time. Ask Michelle Rempel. Ask Arnold Viersen. They were two of the signatories that came out with a very good document back in the day. And I'm sure you're familiar with it. It was called the Buffalo Declaration. And it outlined all of the problems that we have as Western Canadians. And they actually signed on to this, 4 conservative MPs. Oh shoot, for the life of me, I can't remember who the other 2 were. You can look it up.
Yeah, I'll do that right now while you talk.
Yeah, the Buffalo Declaration. And they outlined the problems that we have as Western Canadians. This is long before I was involved in politics. And I remember hearing that and thinking, this is exactly it. This is exactly what we need. Good job, guys. Now that's some political courage. That's the guys I'm looking for. Way to go. And I became fans immediately.
The Buffalo Declaration was signed by 4 conservative MPs from Alberta: Michelle Rempel Garner, Blake Richards, Glenn Motz, and Arnold Viersen.
There you go. But shortly, like we're talking in very short order after they came out publicly with that, they all became very quiet. It went away like a fog in the morning on a hot summer day. That whole message immediately disappeared. And you know what happened? They were offending Eastern conservative voting sensibilities. And they were told that if you don't want to end up outside of the Conservative Party of Canada, you better be quiet. And that was the end of it. We have never heard a conservative member talk about those issues like they did then since.